My name is Kees Roffelsen. I'm from the Netherlands, 29 years old, and you can also refer to me as Brother Isa. And my journey, I guess, to Islam started actually quite a while ago, 2009 to be exact. I'm a student in history and political science, and for our course we were asked to study a particular member of parliament in the Netherlands, and I chose the parliamentarian Ayaan Hirsi Ali, a very vocal critic actually of Islam. So for my studies I chose to read all her books, you know, Infidel, Caged Virgin, Sun Factory, and in case if you're aware, she's a woman who's used to be a Muslim. She's from Somalia, moved to the Netherlands and now moved to the US. And she is very critical of Islam, you know, the role that women play in it, etc. So my first introduction to Islam was not the most positive one, but it did make me curious. So because of that, I started to learn more about Islam. I started to follow courses at the university about it, you know, history of Islam, what it all means, who the people are, developments in, you know, the last century, the 18th century, the 19th century, 20th. And it also led me to travel for my studies and later for my work also to learn more about Muslim countries. First I went to Turkey, which was where I first got into contact with, I would say, like, you know, real Muslim people. This was the first time I saw the inside of mosques. And then I moved to India, and there I also, you know, encountered more of them. And eventually, through an ISAC exchange program, I came to Bahrain, 2016. And this is where I met my wife, or I should say my current wife. And yeah, she introduced me also about Islam. She taught me, you know, how she experiences it as a Muslim. Of course, she's been it her whole life. And yeah, so for the last, now at least 3 years, we've been on this journey together, which led me to marrying her in last June. And since June, I've also been living here in Bahrain. And I guess you could say that I have been, since June at least last year, a full-fledged Muslim. So that is, like, in a broad arc, my story. I would say, obviously quite dramatically, you know, I moved from an entirely different country. I got to meet an entirely different way of life, new people, and of course an entirely new belief system. In terms of, like, personal habits, relatively little. You know, I already did not drink any alcohol, and it's not that hard for me to give up pork meat. So in that sense, relatively little, but I think, of course, as you learn more and more and more about Islam, what it means, what the obligations are, what the new rules are, you sort of automatically start to change your behavior without perhaps even noticing it. It comes, for me, it was mainly being exposed to just reading more, learning there's more than just those really small hardline movements. You know, there's a much broader world out there. It's also a much more diverse religion than most, I would say, non-Muslims are aware of, but perhaps also I think it's far more diverse than most Muslims are aware of. I think most Muslims probably also have a very rather singular view perhaps of what Islam is, not realizing that, for instance, the Islam that we see in the Gulf is very different than what we see in Malaysia, Indonesia, or of course on the other side of the world in Morocco. And of course, this diversity we'll also start seeing now, I think, because Muslims are coming more and more onto their own in Europe, North America. So I think we'll also there start to see a different type of Islam. And it was my exposure, my realization that there are all these different types of Islam, these ways to live according to the scripture, that made me realize yeah, there's a lot more to it than I initially thought. My family has always been very accepting. You know, it doesn't matter where you're from, who you choose to love, what your background is. So they've been nothing but acceptance and love from anyone. Yeah, no issues on that side. I think it is. I think that is definitely one of the strengths of Bahrain. You know, this sense of diversity, this openness to other cultures. I think it is one of the key strengths of, I would say, like the Gulf region in large, not just Bahrain. And yeah, the being open to different experiences, being open to new cultures, I would say it's, you know, not only does it bring serious economic advantages, of course, you know, it allows you to do business all over the world, but it also has a culturally enriching experience, because just because you're a Muslim does not mean you cannot learn from other traditions, other cultures, even other religions, I would say. I think everyone has their own path to walk. Like I know my path to Islam is very different than probably that of a lot of people. So I cannot tell you what your path is to where you want to be. But I would only say is keep an open mind, you know, and be open to new experiences, new information, new traditions. And whether you get this from books, whether you get this from meeting people, doesn't really matter. It's just that you keep that open mind and, yeah, allow yourself to at least perhaps also question from time to time your own preconceptions. Doesn't necessarily mean you instantly have to agree with everything you get, but just to take them into consideration.